Welcome to the Astro Forecast for the week of September 20th to the 26th. This is a very full week. All right. So that starts off Monday, September 20th, is the full moon in Pisces. Now, we've been building towards this full moon in Pisces for the last week, right? As the moon is gaining in light. And this Pisces moon is very sensitive. Pisces is the most sensitive sign of the zodiac. So you might be feeling very intuitive. That's on the positive side, or feeling your emotions coming up, positive side, if you're using your emotions for information. If you're letting your emotions take you over, or you're feeling really overwhelmed by them, your emotions and sensitivity, feeling like you're crying all the time, then that is where it does not feel good anymore. So if you're prone to crying during this week, it's okay. It's okay. It's just the moon. It's just the moon. It's nothing wrong with you. There isn't a reason other than the moon is stirring things up. Now, the moon has very strong powers over the waters of this earth, right? As the moon comes closer to the earth, the tides get bigger. The waters of this earth are very attracted to the moon's gravitational field, and being the first cosmic force that we ever feel in our parents' womb, our mother's womb, or our birther's womb, that is where we're going to feel that. We've felt it our whole lives, right? So if you are a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, or you have it very prominently in your chart, where you either have it on your rising sign, your moon, or your sun, or you have a number of planets in one of those water signs, you are very affected by the moon. So you should definitely follow the moon's cycles and understand how to use them for your best life. You truly can surf those moon cycles for your best and highest good. So for this full moon, it is happening at 5:55 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Monday. I love that. And for me, I've been seeing a lot of 555, so I know, and being the opposite of my sign, Virgo. So for all of you Virgos, this Pisces is going to be opposite. Now, depending on where you are in the Virgo kind of trajectory of things, this moon might be too far away from your sun, or it can be sort of within reach. So if you have your birthday anytime around this week, I would say 5 days before or 5 days after, you're going to feel this. You are going to feel this. So just noticing that even more. But for the collective, we are going to notice much more sensitivity in the collective. And there is a very interesting aspect for this moon. This moon has Neptune sitting with the moon. So that is Neptune in Pisces is at home. It's in its home sign. And Neptune is very much about sensitivity, intuition, one love, devotion, idealism, creativity. It's kind of your soul speaking through purpose and our connection to the divine in one another. So very ethereal. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and it is a mutable water sign. It means that the emotions flow with what is happening in that moment, right? That's a lot of actors and creatives and musicians, artists have Pisces very prominently in their chart as well. So this is going to be a heightened sense of sensitivity, emotions, intuition. It can also be confusion. It can be insight. It depends on how you use your emotions. Boundaries is a really important thing for Pisces because it's mutable water. Think of it just kind of flowing into the cracks between the rocks, fills things in. It doesn't have boundaries, so it kind of goes wherever it's needed. It's very porous in its boundaries, and we're trying to shore up those boundaries with this full moon of what you will and won't accept to help you kind of manage your energy a little bit on this date. Also bringing your dreams to reality through inspired action, because the sun is in Virgo. Virgo is about doing. It's about action taking, organizing, discipline, refinement more so. Discipline is more Capricorn, but it's still kind of the doingness, being of service, right? We want to do it because we want to help people. And then Pisces is the opposite sign, and that is about healing and bringing that now into service in a greater way, flowing with change as opposed to trying to control change. So this is going to really be about bringing your dream to reality, and how can you now take action from that intuitive place? That's harmony, right? When we use our intuition and we take inspired action, we're now in harmony with our world and ourselves, our inner world. So intuition versus practicality is going to be a very important thing. You're going to want to control, and the world is going to say, no, you got to surrender, right? If you're wanting to control the politics, and there's going to be an outcome this week to, if you're in Canada, the Canadian politics, there's going to be an outcome to the election, and you might not feel so happy about what that outcome is. Maybe you didn't vote for the person that is going to win. And the one thing that I absolutely hate about elections is because every party is trying to win, they're painting the other as an imbecile or mismanaged or not smart enough to run or not capable. And one of those parties is going to get power. So as we see that happen, we're now like, but this guy's now an imbecile. You told me that. And now we're like, let's go get behind him. So I'm going to say, take it all with a grain of salt. Know that anybody who gets voted in is meant to be there by the majority of people. You live in a democracy. And can we detach from that? Because half the decisions that they make most of the time really don't have anything to do with the smallest people in society, which I feel like I am. But really, that feeling of what's going to affect you in the grand scheme of things, it will trickle down to you eventually for sure. And can you focus on what is good in your life and how can you now work within this framework? I have many friends who work in government, and usually when governments change over, there's usually a change in the way that they run departments and all that. So sometimes there's something good to be said with stability, and other times there's something good to be said with change as well. But there's always an opportunity in every situation. So if you're feeling like, oh, I can't control this situation and the person I voted for didn't get it, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. This country will be run by people who care about it, just like we care about it. They might not care about it in the same way we do, or think about doing things the same way we do, but it's still important, and they're going to do a good job as best they can with what they have. Hopefully. But all you can control is your own world. You only have two things you can control: perceptions and your actions. So what you're perceiving, if you're perceiving outside yourself that everything is a wreck and life sucks, well, that is what's going to happen. Your life is going to suck, and it's going to have you're going to have a hard time. But if you can focus on the things that are working in your life, that you have agency for, that you can control, that is where the power is. That is where the power, take back your power. So transformation, deeply buried emotions will be coming to light because the moon is sextile to Pluto during this full moon. And then we also have a little like processing emotions to try to find balance. There's a in conjunct here to Mercury, which is kind of like we're trying to process our emotions through thought, and it's not going to work out. We're trying to find balance, and we're having a hard time with it. So even if you perceive that maybe bringing your purpose to light right now is not easy, or you're trying to do something that's not being supported, there's another way around it. That's what this is saying. There's an obstacle there because it's a detour. It's meant to kind of move you in another direction. So, if we take it, an example of passports, let's say if that's something that you are either for or against. So let's say you're against passports, then you might be feeling like the world is out to get you and you are by yourself, and you are not. There are a lot of people out there that feel like that as well. And so can you find them and have some kind of feeling like you're not alone, right? And if something is to come in to restrict you because you don't want to get the vaccine, then how now can you create your life without those things? Because that is a choice, right? You have a choice not to get vaccinated. So you have a choice not to then honor this passport. And then can you go to businesses and stuff that don't want to honor this passport? Or can you find other ways to do things for you? On the converse side, if you are for passports and you are for getting the vaccine, then you are then able to now have these other opportunities. And if you have friends like I do who are on either side of this fence, who are not vaccinated or vaccinated, you're now going to have to find a way to live a life that either doesn't include them or does something that's more inclusive for everybody. So you have a choice, right? So if you're thinking, all these people who are vaccinated, they're going to get everything, that's not true, because they have loved ones and people who aren't vaccinated too, and they're going to want to see them too. And this passport isn't to make life worse for anyone. We're just trying to figure the best way through this pandemic is what we're trying to all do. We all want the same thing, is this for this to be over. That's what I'm going to say. I like to stay neutral on these astro forecasts because it's about the astrology, not about politics. Okay. And then the last aspect that's really helping this full moon, but again, it can help it to grow bigger to its best or its worst, right? You get to decide. So Mercury, again, our mind, which is rules Virgo, is in Libra. So we're trying to find balance and harmony right now. We're trying to find a way to navigate this time where we're thinking it through, trying to find compromise. And what I said to one of my clients last week is, can you then see the points of view on the opposite side of what you're feeling so that you can have some compassion and empathy for the opposite? So I remember in I think it was elementary school, we had to do a debate and we had to come up with you know, logic or oh my God, clauses and things that supported our, so evidence and arguments that supported our side that we were supposed to take for the debate. And the debate was kids are allowed allowance, or kids should get allowance. Now, I grew up in a household where we didn't get allowance. You're part of the family, you do the work, you don't get money for it. And so the teacher said, who wants to argue for allowances? And I'm like, me, I think I should get an allowance. And he's like, all right, you're going to argue against allowances. And I was like, oh, I got tricked. And so I then had to come up with, as my assignment, all the reasons why someone shouldn't receive an allowance. And I started to interview my parents because they were big, supporters of it. And I started to kind of think about, well, what are all the reasons for it? And I had to make an argument for it. And I actually won because my arguments were so persuasive and well thought out, and kind of had merit to it. So I was actually won the debate based on it, even though it wasn't the point of view that I wanted to take, right? And so can you do something like that now in your life, that if there's something you're so staunchly like, no, I believe in this, and then can you go, okay, but why would I believe in the other thing? And what are the people who believe in that side, why are they believing in that side, with love and compassion? Because no one's trying to be an idiot, right? No one's trying to be an idiot. No one's trying to suck at life, right? And when we start to label people and use divisive words like they over there and they're stupid and they don't know what they're talking about, can we just seek to understand and get curious about why the other side would feel differently about that? So that's really important to try that during this time. So Mercury is going to be trining Jupiter in Pisces retrograde. What that means is this is an opportunity now for us to have a bigger perspective on things, that we can start to see the healing that's happening that is available to us as a society. And this is now optimism, well-being, big ideas, intuitive hits, solving problems. That's such a gift at this time that we're looking for as a society. But if it's blowing up your ideas and you're thinking everybody sucks, and then you're now conglomerating with other people that everybody sucks and everybody sucks, and then that power starts to grow into anger, and then that anger starts to grow into violence, and then that starts to grow into inspired action from violence. And that's when we get really bad things that happen in society, like things like 9/11, an attack on mosques and things like that. So instead of trying to fuel violence and power that way, can we bring our fuel to love and compassion and coming together to see the other people's points of view, so that they're not other, they are part of us, and we can see their heart and see, because we're all in fear. We all want to try to get through this together. We're not trying to screw anybody over here. We're not. Nobody's trying to do that. So, just a little food for thought. Wednesday, September 22nd, the sun moves into Libra. Happy birthday to all the Libras. Libra season is so beautiful. Libra is about relationships, connection, love, balance, harmony. And so this is such a beautiful, if you know any Libras, man, are they beautiful people, right? They're just exude this Venusian loveliness. There's something really quite beautiful. I can always spot a Libra in a crowd. So Libra season is so different from Virgo season. It lightens up, right? Virgo is mutable earth, right? It's grounded, it's moving with change, and it's trying to ground into reality things that are helping us. Now, Libra lightens up, it's air, and it's cardinal air. So it's bringing in also the fall equinox. So when the sun moves into Libra, which the exact time is 1:20 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on September 22nd, this ushers in the fall equinox. And fall equinox just means equal day, equal night. So there is equal amount of sunlight as there are nighttime hours, and we are kind of in this balancing. And isn't it interesting that it's Libra season, right? Libra is the scales. It's about balance and harmony. Now, the plight of every Libra, and this is going to come up for all of us during this season, And if you're a Libra watching this, you're so beautiful. Thank you for watching. But it's also your plight in life, and this is going to be the collective now, is to not give so much away in compromise that you then lose yourself in all of that. So Libras are very beautiful compromisers, and they have this ability to see both sides of the coin. So if you've ever talked to a Libra as they are processing an issue in their life, what happens is they play the devil and then they play the angel, and they play the devil and they play the, and you don't have to say nothing. You just have to watch and go, uh-huh, I see that. And you go, uh-huh, oh, I see that too. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, totally. And so the problem with Libra is inherently, number one, they see both sides of it, but they can't make a decision because they're like, I have arguments for both sides of it. How can I choose? So they're very on the fence with a lot of things. They have a hard time moving on major decisions quickly because they're always kind of like chewing on it for a little bit. Libras are very intelligent. That's an air sign. Intelligence, inspiration, ideas come with air signs. And it's a cardinal air sign. It's starting the season of fall. So on this day, September 22nd, it is the start of fall. And it is inherently a doer, right? Libras are doers, right? They get behind a cause and they will do it. So this is a time of tolerance, social peace, harmony, connecting with others, beauty, soothing the soul, so important, extreme. There's another aspect coming in here with Pluto, which is bringing in some extreme and forceful energy. So on this day that Libra is moving, or the sun is moving into Libra, what's happening is there's also a Mercury square to Pluto. Now, anytime we see a square to Pluto, it is intense. Pluto is transformation, death, rebirth. It is healing the shadow. It's hard things. Pluto is hard things in a square aspect. And Mercury is now our mind in Libra. So we're trying to find this balance with others. And there's Pluto in Capricorn, the patriarchy or government or restrictions coming in here. So this is telling me, and if I'm to make a prediction, is on September 22nd or around this day, because it is in effect from the 16th to the 27th. The 16th, 27th. Oh yeah, 27th, Pluto goes retrograde. No, Mercury goes retrograde, and it's going to kind of stay in effect until October 6th. So this aspect of Mercury square Pluto is an aspect from the 16th of September, so last week, till October 6th. And that's a lot. That's a long time for this to be in aspect. It's an intense, I'm going to say Wednesday, September 22nd is an intense day. So what this means is we're going to feel restrictions. There might be confrontation, anger. Be careful what you believe to be true. This can be propaganda. Again, be careful of social media because you can go down rabbit holes. And especially because the algorithm is so genius with Instagram and Facebook, you'll start to see that if you looked at an article about vaccinations, what will happen? You're going to get more things about vaccinations. If you look at something for ivermectin, you're going to start to see all sorts of things for ivermectin. So they like to give you what will keep you on the platform. And I want you to just be super aware of what you're consuming and how your energy feels while you're consuming it. And you can be the curator of your feed. You don't have to feel swept away by your Instagram or Facebook feed. And, social media is meant to be social. So can you be on social media? Can you have a fun time socializing with the people you don't get to see very often, especially because we're in COVID? That I really feel in and around these dates, kind of moving forward from September 22nd to the 6th of October, we're going to see some restrictions coming back into our world again. And maybe that is through the passports, or maybe that's through lockdowns. Our numbers here in Alberta are going sky high. So there could be that if it hasn't already come in by the time you see this video, it'll likely come around the 22nd onward to October 6th. So, and I mean, you don't have to be a psychic or an astrologer to see that our numbers are just so high and our hospitals are being overwhelmed at this point. So something has to be done. We can't continue on in this vein. So let's see what happens for that. But have a curious and open mind and seek to understand. right? There's going to be a challenge to your thinking during this time. And if it hasn't already been, right? So just being open to curious, having the curious mind and trying to bring in that sort of debate, example that I brought in is like, can I find a way to see something about the other side? If you've ever watched the movie Dead Man Walking with Susan Sarandon, it follows a man who's on death row. And, right up to the end, you're like, hang the bastard. And then you start to see it from his side of it and the humanity coming in. And I remember crying so hard at the end of that movie because I've just felt so torn, like the humanness, seeing the human side of this and, him being a product of his environment and everything that had happened. And I won't spoil the ending if you haven't watched the movie, but I just remember feeling so conflicted at the end that really changed my perspective on what I thought to be the law and the right and wrong of things, that I'm like, no, there's more here for me to understand about human nature and my own compassion and heart, right? My own heart doesn't actually feel like that. It's my ego that feels like that. So digging into that. Thursday, September 23rd. This is also another very interesting day. It's going to be from the 20th to the 28th. We're going to feel this, and it's Venus opposite Uranus. So Venus is now in Scorpio. Yes, all the taboo. We love talking about healing and the yucky things that we are encountering in the occult and metaphysics. I love it. And Uranus is in Taurus retrograde. So Taurus is about our values, what we kind of money, luxury, things that we, finance, the earth, it's solid earth. It's grounded, fixed earth, anything that is kind of stability, long lasting. And it's in retrograde. So we're sort of coming into like, what do we actually love and value? What are we really wanting here? And why do we want what we want? If you're coming into this time, and this is around Mercury is going retrograde at the end of the week, but it's already, in shadow, and it's not stationary retrograde just yet, but pretty close. So we're going to start to bring up some of these things about the way we think and what do we love and value and why do we want the things that we want, and can we come into this is a great energy for decluttering, getting rid of things that aren't serving you. Relationships might be shaken up, or finance might be shaken up. Be extra careful with your money. There's a vulnerability here with money. So Scorpio in the zodiac rules the 8th house, and the 8th house is other people's money, debt, taxes, things that we owe to other people. Or if you're married or have access to someone else's money, that's their money, is represented by the 8th house, which is Scorpio. So, well, in the natural wheel of Scorpio. And so this dichotomy of Scorpio Taurus is my money versus your money. And so there can be this feeling now of the government trying to take back some money. And this is not tax season, but this can be, especially if the new government is being formed around this week, we can feel, again, from the 20th to the 28th, this aspect is going to be in effect, that our money is being depleted in some way. So being really cautious about your money, putting some parameters around it, looking at your debt, what are you paying off and what's coming in, and how can you shift some things? Maybe how can you get rid of some things, like some subscriptions or, things that you're not actually, interested in, or you're paying for and you're like, I don't know why I'm paying for this, get out of here. That would be really helpful. Be careful of gambling on this day. This is also a very emotional day because there's some aspects to the moon on this day too. So overall, it's going to be an emotional week. I'm just going to say that right now. And just giving yourself the space to have that. Friday as well, going to be an erratic, sensitive, emotional day. The sun is opposite Uranus, and the sun is sitting with Uranus, which is erratic energy. And it's opposite Venus in Scorpio, feeling very sensitive. Saturday, the 25th, we have a beautiful aspect. You're like, yes, finally, of Mars square to Saturn. Excuse me. So Mars square to Saturn is an aspect of Mars. Sorry, it's not square to Saturn. So to say that again, on Saturday, September 25th, we have Mars trine to Saturn retrograde. So Mars is in Libra. This is an energy of compassion, of balance, of harmony, of trying to find the middle ground. And Saturn in retrograde in Aquarius is about community and how can we come together to find some, to to protect the ones that are the most vulnerable in society and be responsible. So this is an energy of self-discipline, patience, on-time budgeting, devoted to work, strength, ambition, hard work, getting the job done efficiently. So following through on something that you feel very passionate about, this day is going to help you do that. This is also increased sex drive on this day, and it's sex appeal. So you can feel very sexy on this day. Of course, depending on your own chart, that might not be the case, but Saturday feels like a good day. And then Sunday, September 26th, we have some wonderful aspects to the moon. So this is a very harmonious day in our emotions. And at the very end of the day, 11:10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Mercury goes retrograde for the last time of this year. So Mercury goes retrograde about 3 to 4 times a year, and on average, about 24 days every time it goes retrograde. So Mercury is a planet that governs our communication, our thought process, our connection to each other. It's the way that we kind of process information, if you will. It's also our coordination. And when we think about Mercury in its direct form, it is the doingness of Mercury, right? We are communicating, we're writing the emails, we're writing texts, we're telling stories, we're speaking to each other, and everything is flowing really lovely. And when Mercury goes retrograde, it means now we need to slow that down and go inward to review, to reassess, to refine, to realign, all the re's of retrogrades. So this time gives us time to slow down and go back over to see that we did the things that we were supposed to be doing, or did we gloss over it in a quick rush to get things done? So Mercury retrograde really affects signs that have Virgo and Gemini prominently in their charts, because those are the ruling planet for those signs. And it's just kind of a tough time for the collective. Now, if you are born with Mercury retrograde, this feels like home. This feels like you're just like, this is my home. This is what I was born with, and this feels good to you. And for me as a Virgo, this is a tough time. Things slow down. And so it rules moving parts of cars, travel, things like that. So if you are traveling during this time, and I know we're still in a pandemic, but people are still traveling, to make sure you have backups of things. So don't just have things on your phone, to make sure you have paper copies of things, which is going to be really important. And it's very interesting because the vaccine passports are coming in across the country during this time, and they're electronic. And so there's going to be challenges to these passports coming up online and having them go. I mean, I was trying to access my health records to see what that was here in Alberta, and nothing was coming up. I was in queue for hours trying to get access to my own health records. Like, it's supposed to be available to everybody, and it's not. And so very interesting. We're already starting to see that shadow at the time that I was taping this, but you're going to see that that's not going to work out. So having a paper copy of things is going to be really, really important. Don't just trust them to be on your electronics. Now, Mercury is going to go retrograde in Libra, and Libra is an air sign, and air rules inspiration, ideas, intellect, communication, intelligence. So I feel like that's going to slow down. Like, our thought process is going to get a little foggy, and it's not a time to send quick texts or quick emails. It's really a time to slow down, read what is being said to you. Really, when you're texting someone or emailing someone, to look at who are you texting and emailing. This is a time when, if you're gossiping about somebody, you could be sending the gossip to the person you're gossiping about, as opposed to somebody else that you're gossiping. And again, gossip is so negative because it's talking about somebody because you have a need to judge them because you feel inadequate in yourself. So be careful with judgment and gossip. So with this time, Mercury was in shadow from September 7th to the 27th, or 26th in this case. And so whatever was happening for you during the 7th to the 27th of September, you are now going to go back and do it again in a new way. Or you might have a new idea about things, or a new inspiration might come in, or you'll go over it again and you'll see all these typos or things that you didn't say right, or maybe you've learned something new and you interject it into your writing and it makes it so much better. So if you're working, whatever you're working on will sort of be reviewed during this time. And Mercury will be retrograde until October 18th, but he will be in shadow until November 3rd. So what does that mean? It means that Mercury is going to be going direct after October 18th. So it's going to be back and forward motion, but it's going to be going over those degrees again. So if you think about it in the retrograde period in the astrology, what happens is Mercury has been going over these degrees of Libra since September 7th. And then it goes retrograde because it's going slower than the Earth. It's not actually going backwards in the sky, but because it's going slower than the Earth, it looks like it's going backwards in the sky. So it's actually traversing those degrees of the zodiac one more time. So Mercury went forward, then it's going back over those degrees again, and then it's going forward. So that period of time that Mercury is going over those degrees is considered the retrograde period. And when he enters into that period, that's called the shadow, but he's still going direct. And then when he retrogrades back and comes back out of all those degrees, the direct shadow is going to be when he's out. So what I will say to you, signing major contracts, having negotiations, doing anything major before the 18th of October. I mean, you can still do some things after the 18th, but it's highly, highly recommended not to sign any contracts between this date, September 26th, at the end of the day, and October 18th. Now, life happens, things happen. Check the fine print, because what happens when you sign a contract or you agree to do something during Mercury retrograde, you realize later you bought a lemon. Something comes to light that you're like, oh, I wish I'd known. I'll give you the example is I had signed up for some software. I knew it was Mercury retrograde, but the deal was expiring. It was a hell of a deal. I had somebody that was going to install the software and everything for a steal of a deal as well. And it ended up being nothing but a hassle the whole time until I got rid of it. So it is like if you bought a car and the car, like little things went wrong with it until you got rid of it, that is like a lemon, right? You're buying something that is not fully intact, that you don't understand, that's fully it's not working out great. So being very aware of that. So take care of your words, intellect, ideas, inspiration, social connection, communication, all affected. A mental balance between relationships with others and personal ambitions are going to be really important during this time. That's at Mercury in Libra. Plan accordingly, travel, cars, contracts, communication, technology. Your technology might not run so great. Again, communication is affected, and in an air sign, the idea is the internet is Aquarius, but it's still in Uranus. So it's still, though, the air signs, kind of things that travel through the air, assumingly like, wow, what is that? Which again is the virus too. Mental balance between relationships with others and personal, and past relationships coming up now for healing. So Mercury retrograde brings things from the past to heal that have not been healed or finished. So in Libra, relationships, you could have exes coming up from the grave. No, it could be things that are coming up for you to see them in a new light and heal it once and for all. So let's say you have an ex in your past and now you're in a new relationship, and this new person does something that reminds you of your ex. That's going to be a key for you to heal that during Mercury retrograde. See it for what it is so that you never have to deal with it again, or that you're not attracting that in again because you don't want it again if that was a problem of the past. And emotional sensitivities, new truths will surface now. So that is, always fun, right? When we're like, oh, we believe this, and then they're like, oh, that's a new truth coming in. Always a good thing to learn the truth and to see things for what they are. So maybe this will bring us together. I hope it will, as a community, for us to kind of come together in this Libra state to see the truth of what is happening, or to come to new understanding so that we all can have compassion for where we're at. And really, at the end of the day, it's really just about creating safety and space in our healthcare system so that we can heal the sick, the people who need it, and we're not turning people away or shipping them out of province or wherever you are in the world. So I am sending you so much love for this amazing week. This is a very busy week in the astrology. So we start off with that full moon in Pisces. We've got some squares and oppositions that we're contending with this week. We've got that lovely Mars trine Saturn that's helping us with energy and vitality to get our tasks done later in the week. And then we've got Mercury retrograde at the end of the week. So Mercury is already slowing down. You know, I've been talking about shadow for the last 2 weeks where we're going over these degrees again. So just pay attention what you now have to review and have patience for what is coming, because everything is happening for an opportunity for betterment for you if you can see it. All right. Wishing you a wonderful week ahead. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Have a good week. Bye.